let's do this. Roll the intro. Well, so just before I went in for my surgery, I bought a few things. And now that I'm feeling a little bit better, we're going to get to working on them. But first, I got to clean all of this stuff up because I've got like 10 projects that I'm working on right now, and they've all kind of hit a stall point. And this one may too. We'll just kind of see. Let me get this right here vacuumed up, and we'll open the box and see what's in it. Okay, so, as if I needed any more projects, any more things to work on that are not being completed, I figured I'd buy one of these. Now, with all the projects that I've got going on right now, I'll just give you a rundown. I've got a Game Gear, not a Game Gear, I've got a Game Boy that was utterly destroyed with battery corrosion, that I have managed to get mostly functional. That's kind of currently in a holding pattern over there. I've got my personal Xbox One controller that's in a holding pattern while I try to track down and figure out exactly what's going on with it. I've got an Xbox One, I've got a bunch of Game Gears, a bunch of other things. But this project is one that was missing from my collection. Now, the guy that I bought this from, and I got it on eBay, listed it as 4 parts, and said, I'd have to pull the listing up, I don't remember. It was 4 parts not working. Good Lord. What a wrapping job. Let's see what we have here. Voila. We have a Sega Saturn in all of its glory. Now, all that it came with was a power cord. I don't have the AV out. I don't have this back cover or whatever went here. I don't have the communication connector, and we're definitely missing a screw over here on this AC input. Now, I did get this thing for a bit of a song. I got it for a good price. I'm not going to be upset about it at all, but I don't know if you guys heard that. There was a piece of plastic inside that has fallen out. It's not in the worst shape that I've ever seen, but it is incredibly dirty. Let me see if I can pull up exactly what was wrong with this guy. Let's see here. I gave about 75 bucks for it. Non-working, does come with a power cord. And this guy says not working. That's it. The pictures are fairly accurate of what we got, except for he does show on this picture, and I don't know if you guys can see that it does come with a back cover that is definitely not here. Now, it's possible it fell off and it's in the wrapping somewhere, but it's definitely not here. Now, as far as what else could be wrong with this, I'm not 100%. Just says not working, 4 parts, blah, blah, blah. That's really all it says. So, first things first, let's see if it will even power on, which is probably a mistake. Because the last thing that you really want to do with a console that supposedly is not working is plug it up and turn it on. Okay, we do have a power light. We have the access light coming on. Okay. And that's really all we're getting. So, at least the power light comes on. So let's unplug him. And let's start disassembling this thing. And we'll see if we can't. These are all, looks like Phillips is. Let's try Phillips 2. Alright, sorry about that, guys. That little work call I had to take care of. So, on this Saturn, little tray thing, so our board is dirty, but I don't necessarily see any vented capacitors yet. I see a lot of leftover flux for these connectors. I see a bunch of nasty right in here. That is not flux. I don't know what that is. That may be some liquid damage, maybe, perhaps, possibly. Because there is some whitish markings all over this board. Interesting. Interesting. Let's set him down, and we'll deal with the bottom of this and the controller port here in a second. So the first thing that we want to approach is cleaning this guy up. Let me get my stack of paper towels, or my paper towel bunch here. We also got a 2032 here, Panasonic. This is not a rechargeable. This is just a standard 2032. So we've got plenty of those we can replace, no problem. First thing we want to do though is clean this board up as clean as we can get it. Heavy dousage of isopropyl alcohol. And remember, guys, other channels will tell you different things, but I tell you, we only use 99% or higher on this channel. That's all I recommend using. And I'll tell you why, okay? It's not that anything else won't work. It's not that 95 or 98 or 91 won't work and won't probably be fine. But here's why I recommend it. The price difference is so insignificant, it's pointless to buy anything else. And the difference in the quality is you know, listen, 90, 95, 98, whatever, 91 will definitely get it clean. It's not that it won't. It definitely will. But the price difference, there's just no reason to buy anything else because the price is so similar that buying anything else is pointless. Now this has a sticker on. It says AE 510 76,000. I don't know what that means. And of all the consoles that I know about, I know very little about the the Saturn. Very little about them. I know so little about them that I don't know what any of these chips are. I haven't really taken a look at it. We've got it's not a 6800. It's a Motorola chip. I don't know what any of these chips do. I really don't. Couldn't tell you. Don't know what any of them are. This is probably a audio video right up in here, though, obviously. Let's flip this guy over, and let's go back to dousing this side of the board. I'll tell you what. For a vintage console, I don't know how much power that this thing had in the day. I really don't. But I can tell you, there's a lot of hardware on this board. A lot. It is a lot of hardware. And as far as a PCB goes, this is a very cool looking PCB. The layout, the design is beautiful. I like it. Very impressed by it. I deal with a lot of Segas on this channel, but I'm not a huge Sega fan. Not particularly. As I've said many times, I'm a Microsoft fan. I don't do a lot of Xbox or Microsoft console things on this channel, but I am a big Microsoft fan. I really am. Okay, we're going to flip this guy over right here. And I'm just going to kind of set him aside a little bit. Just a little bit. Now that we've got most of the gunk, I think, scrubbed off. You know, I don't see any reason why this console shouldn't work off the top of my head. I mean, I saw a little bit of liquid damage there, but I'm not super concerned about it. I say liquid damage. It doesn't necessarily have to be liquid damage. If anything, I do know that the disk drives, and I know this, are notorious for failing on these, and that's kind of leads to the SD card emulator things you stick in them. Let me set this guy aside. And let's get our power board, and obviously we're going to have to recap this. Yeah. We're going to have to recap it. Now, I'll say this about it. It doesn't look terrible. It really doesn't. We're obviously going to recap it and replace these power modules, the power MOSFETs on it. And we're probably going to, this should be our output potentiometer to kind of control. I'll tell you what, these caps are very vibrating loose. They're all, I've never heard of them. They're not Nichicons. I thought maybe we'd lucked out and got Nichicons, but no such luck. These are Nitsuko caps. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Doesn't mean they're bad. So this here is a Malay. I can't even read it. Can't even read it, and I definitely can't read that one. I doubt that's a 7805, but it might be. No, neither one of these are 7805s. This is a 8P086, and this is a PB0283. Yeah. I don't know. Voltec. is who made these. The fuse is obviously fine. The fuse works. It's good, I guess. Yep, nope. Let's give him one more little, give our fuse a little clean there. I'm not a big fan of the way Sega did their power boards like this. I'm really not. I think it's a stupid idea in the grand scheme of things. I really do. Mainly because the connector right here is going to, inevitably, there's no question about it, it is going to eventually weaken. Okay, that's that. I guess now we can get down to our disk drive here. And I think the first thing that, I'm not even going to clean the bottom of this. This has so much flux on the bottom of it, it is obscene. Let me hold off on cleaning him for a second. Let me just hold off on that. Let me get the main power board back up. And let's start taking a look at it and seeing what the story is with this guy. And the main thing that I want to look at is capacitors. Now, there's a strong possibility that these capacitors have started to vent or will start soon. And probably what I'm going to do is, this is a 171 7006C 837 1191-01 USA board. So we need to go to console 5 to their tech wiki.
Hey.
There we go. So, looks like main PCB is the VA0. So, wonder where that is located. I wonder where that is located. Okay. So this has the Voltec power board on it. Which version? I don't know. Okay, there we go. Voltec, and this is the 7694V. 7694V. Not listed. Maybe that's not it. Oh wait, sorry. Model S7194. 7194. So this is our list of for our Voltec 7194, this guy right here. I want to keep scrolling back up. Schematics, VA0 PAL. So we've got the PAL schematics. Okay. So it looks like 1.1.1 shows the IC HD. Sorry, I'm scrolling through just looking at these guys right here. So HD 64179095. So, okay. Here's our CPU, and yep, these are our two CPUs, and they are the 6417905s, both of them F28s. These are not the, oh no, these are the S versions. Both of these are the S versions, okay?
Hey.
Okay. So, capacitor lists 837, 11, 891s. 891. This guy right here. This guy right here. So we're definitely VA1 version, US VA1. I don't know if they made multiple versions. Again, my limited knowledge of the Sega Saturn notwithstanding. These are all SMD caps. Now, I'm not going to be able to replace all of these because there are some unique ones in here. Looks like C45 has a 330 UF 6.3 volt. 220s, a bunch of 220s. I could replace all of those. I wonder if it's this. Can't be that. Yep, that's us. 330 and a 230 right here. These guys right here. These are non-SMDs. These are through holes. They're labeled on console 5 as through hole or as SMDs. Interesting. Yeah. $1191.01. Interesting. Because so what it's got is VASG 837.12.126 has a revision that adds through holes for these guys, but these are all SMDs. We'll gloss over all that. I'm not concerned about all that. It looks like there were quite a few revisions of this, maybe in different locations. The capacitor, on the other hand, so we know which ones these are, so we got to purchase these. Probably go ahead and buy them from Console 5 as a kit. Especially like this one right here, this CE37. 1191, 11891. This guy right here, CE37, 10 UF 16 volts. So 10 UF 16, 10 UF 16, 10 UF, a bunch of 10 UF 16s. I bet I don't have those. So this is one of the things that I love about Console 5 is I can just go over here and buy this whole thing as a kit. For the VA0, VA.5, VA.8, and the VA1. I love it. Just buy the whole thing. Okay. And then I can buy. Let's just do, I do love this. Sega Saturn. And just search for it. We don't need the 2032 at all. We can buy the 22RN top 102YA. Let me see. TOP. 102YA1. Yep, so we can add this power regulator and add that. We can go ahead, so we probably need to go ahead and buy the cap kit for the CD-ROM, which means we got to figure out which CD-ROM kit we have here, don't we? Which could be a little bit of a challenge. Let's see here. How do we know? How do we know? Looking for any identifying markers on it at all, anywhere. I don't know. Okay, so our power supply, we're still looking for that Voltec, and this is, where did I find the model number? There it is, 7194. Voltec 7194. We got to scroll through here until we find it. Aha. I think this is the one right here. This just says Voltec. And so I'm having to look at 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think this is us. Add to cart. I think so. We keep scrolling through here. We can go to page 2. We got a 10-pin AV connector plug. Okay. Let's go ahead and add the AV composite stereo cable to it. This is why, by the way, we shop from Console 5, because I can just come straight to the website and I get everything I need. Oh, I didn't get this guy. I got to get the caps for it. Let's go back and let's see if we can find the. We've got to get the capacitors for the CD drive, and it looks like, by the way, that there was only one set. JA0092. Okay, so it says Mecha PWB JA00292. Let's see if we can find that somewhere on this board. Mecha. Okay, JA. No. This guy, maybe. No. This must not be that. Must not be. Must not be. Must not be. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. These are all simple. I'm going to have all of these anyway. I should have all of these 4.7s. I'm just looking at the capacitors now to see if I've got them all. I should have all of these 10 volt hundreds, 220 10 volt 220s. Yeah, I should have all of these guys. There's nothing here I need to order. These are all non-SMD. They're all stand-ups. They're fine. I don't need to buy those. Okay. Cool. So I've got everything in my cart I need. So we'll go out, order those guys, and order the controller and all that. But let's take a closer look at this board. Now that it's all dried up, we can definitely pull this guy out. We'll have all these capacitors coming, so that won't be a problem. So what else are we going to need to do to this board? I don't see anything wrong with it, and it seems to power up. So there doesn't seem to be anything. There doesn't seem to be anything to do on this one. I guess we'll see. I got the AV cord coming, which will be fine. So let me go order those stuff. I'll be right back, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with the rest of this. Okay, we're back. So while we were gone, things arrived. I bought a controller. This is a Retrobit. I bought a bunch of stuff. I ended up getting a bunch of stuff with Retrobit. We're not going to dig into this. I might dig into it a little bit later on, but this is the Slate Gray for the Sega Saturn. I needed one. I didn't have one, so I got that. And you call Console 5 delivers. This package came in today from Console 5. And if you guys don't shop with them again, they don't sponsor me in any way or anything. They don't really sponsor anybody. But if you don't go through Console 5, something's wrong with you. They have absolutely every part that you could imagine needing for these old consoles, absolutely everything. They package up to do an absolutely great job. I picked up AV cable because I needed that. I also picked up N64 S&D cap. That's for another project. That's later. Yeah. I picked up the Sega Saturn Voltec 110 volt cap kit. Contact information for Console 5 on their website. It's right there if you guys want it. I also picked up the 75 watt voltage regulator and the cap kit for the actual console itself. So all of that stuff is here, and we can get started back in on this guy. Let me round up. I don't even know where I put all this stuff. Oh, it's over here. I guess the first thing that we're going to start with is the main power board. Here is probably the best place to get started. There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of capacitors and things on here that we can tune up a little bit. And I know I've said this a lot of times or many times and all the rest of it, but just in case you guys don't know, Console 5 is great. They've got a tech wikis on their website that you can go to and pull the schematics and the entire capacitor list for every single thing. They do a great job. It's all laid out by what type of capacitor, by what version, what model of board you have, the whole 9 yards. They have absolutely everything. So, absolutely, if you get time, go by and check them out. If you're stumped on something or you don't know how a circuit on a board works or something, Console 5 is your place. So. The bag ripped. So this is going to be our 75 watt voltage regulator. It goes right here. All of our capacitors pretty much lay out. We've got that guy. This guy goes over here at the top. Those 3 guys right there. Those 3 guys right there. And this one right in the middle. The rest of these are all ceramic capacitors, and so there's nothing. Sorry, I smell a burning smell that I really shouldn't smell. Could just be dust. Yeah, it's been a minute since I fired all this stuff up. Pin that tip. Oh, that's just funny. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Let me kick this fan on. Extraction fan. So we're going to get started on that guy, and then we've got the capacitor kit for the main board, which I've got over here, and then we'll pull apart and replace the capacitors on. We may not. These all look like they're in pretty good shape. We may replace all these capacitors on our disk board as well, and then that needs to just sit over there. So we're going to wait for our desoldering gun to come up to temp. What you'll notice if you get to taking some of these apart is that you'll find this little gray stuff that you see right here is a celastic. It's like a sticky, gloopy epoxy type thing. It's stabilized in that it's rubbery at this point, but the reason they put it in here is to protect against vibration. You can go ahead and pry this up, cut it, whatever you want to do to it. Just be careful, don't hurt yourself, and don't cut through the board. but you can pretty much just kind of peel it out of the way until you can get a knife to cut it free from the board itself. Just kind of around the bottom edge like so. That one's good to go. So it looks like in the, I don't see a brand on this at all. On that guy for our main capacitor, I don't see a brand on this one. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're MCB. Don't know who that is. These are same. Don't know. These guys for these three are Nichicons. Our little tiny individual one is the same. It's not a Nichicon because I don't see it printed on there. I don't know who makes those. This is our top 224YN. Yeah, it just replaces that guy right there. Okay. So now our soldering iron is up to temperature. We can start. Now, a little pro tip here. You got to heat this guy up. If it doesn't want to desolder, feel free to go in and apply some. Feel free to apply some fresh solder to it. Let me catch this call. All right, sorry about that. So I'm going to pull this guy out. This is a 200 volt, 120 microfarad. What's going in here is 200 volt, 150 microfarad. Remember, you can go up on your voltage. You can really go up on your capacitance a little bit, but not much. He fits in here this way, but I'm not going to put him in. So what you'll see here on the board is we'll have our circle, and then we've got our line. So you'll always either have like a little line like this denoting negative, or there'll be an actual negative indicator on the board. So don't worry about that. Just pay attention to that little half side is where our negative goes. I'm going to go ahead and pull out our voltage regulator now. Since we're here and it's going to be a little bit easier to get to without that capacitor in. And I'll show you, it's not really a trick, it's just something that I personally like to do. Ooh. He does not want to come out. I'll show you a little trick that I like to do with these guys that I don't see enough people do. Goodness gracious, what a pain. Maybe if I had the proper screwdriver, we wouldn't be having that problem, but we'll gloss over that. Okay. So once we pull out this this voltage regulator right here, and again, if you heat these guys up and they don't want to come loose, don't panic about it. Don't worry about it too much. Apply some fresh leaded solder to it. It's the only time you should really mix solders, mix chemistries on your solder is when you're using it to remove. Pull him out. Drop our new one in. What we have here, this is a heat sink. Okay, that's what that's for. And so since we have a heat sink, and this is something, like I said, I don't see enough people do. It doesn't make a huge, gigantic difference. It's not like we're trying to keep cool, i9 10900K or anything, but just a little bit of thermal compound goes a real long way. With this guy, a real long way in getting that, and it doesn't take much. Just a little bit goes a long way in getting the heat off of the component itself and back and into the heat sink and dissipating that out. So when you're putting yours together, guys, make sure you're using a little thermal compound or something like that to transmit that heat, and make sure it's not a requirement. It's not anything that if you don't do it, you're gonna, nothing will work. It's nothing like that. It's just, it's a best practice to go ahead and do that. We're going to tin up our soldering iron, get everything good to go, put a little flux down. Resolder in. There we go. Just making sure, just double checking over everything and making sure I didn't bridge anything. Nip this guy off, and then here's something else I don't see enough people doing. Take your soldering iron, if you use your flush cutters, and just reheat those joints. Just so it's got just so it looks pretty. It's an aesthetic thing. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to, but it's an aesthetic thing and it looks better, so you should. So we're going to stick our large capacitor, our 200 volt 150 UF capacitor down here. Now, if this is not the right size capacitor, and when I say the right size, okay, what I mean is this is not the right capacitance level. It's too much. It's larger than the original. Then why would we use it? Well, the answer to that question is, again, unless you're an electrical engineer, or you've studied the circuit, you know the circuit well enough, then you should never do that. However, if I had to wager, the capacitance on the power circuit there, it probably so first off, it's probably pretty hard to find a 120 UF 200 volt capacitor, main capacitor anymore. Those are getting a little bit tough to find. So somebody looked at the circuit and made a judgment call on it. However, I'll say this: a lot of times you can get in situations where some of this stuff is not only hard to find, but you can actually clean up some of the signal by tweaking the capacitance a little bit. And so that may be kind of sort of what's going on a little bit here. So here's our little 10 volt 100 UF. Okay. And so what we've got to replace is a 16 volt 100 UF. And our negative leg went in. That's capacitor C106. So we're going to push him on down there. And then we're going to put a little bit of flux down. Now, I always say the mark of a professional, somebody that does a quality job, is if they take the time to make sure their capacitors are straight up and down, right? They're not just thrown in. The legs aren't left crazy long. You know, everything looks nice and professional and neat and clean and all the rest of that. You know, that's the sign of a true professional, somebody that really cares about what they're doing and looks good. When you see capacitors that are kind of laid over all over the place like this, that is the sign of somebody was in a hurry or didn't know what they were doing, okay? That's exactly what that is. So I got 1, 2, 3, and then I've got my big one over here. So we're going to pull these three. So I got negative, negative, and negative facing in. Now, when you see me doing this, I'm not forcing this down. I'm letting it rest until I see the solder go to a liquid state. Once I see the solder go to a liquid state, then I know I'm good to start swiveling and applying my suction action. Now, I've also got my finger here so I can wiggle this, and what that little wiggling allows me to do here is make sure that I'm sucking all of the solder out of the joint, okay? And that way, all of my capacitors come up nice and clean, and I don't have any problems getting anything out. These are all 10 volt 2200s, and it looks like what I've got here are 10 volt 2200s, and then I've got this big guy which is 16 volt 2200. We're going to go ahead and pull him too, and he'll be the first one we put back in. Yeah, just a little shot of Flux. This is MG Chemicals. For those of you guys new to the channel or don't know what I'm using, this is MG Chemicals No Clean Liquid Flux. I am a huge fan of this Flux for 99% of soldering things on a board. Removing chips it's not so good at. Atten makes a great Flux. When it comes to soldering in components or chips or things like that on a board, we're talking like, you know, fine soldering, micro soldering, things like that. Chip Quick is kind of my preferred go-to. Okay. So, a lot of people will untape all these and cut them, and I've done that. Let me show you another little way to go about this guy. Just take your flush cutters, cut both legs, unless you need them long. Because, remember, capacitors are, especially electrolytics, are always indicated. This stripe side is always negative, right? And what I'm doing is I'm just holding my capacitor straight down so that it sits on the board nice and flush, and then just tacking it in place. And once I get all of these kind of loosely tacked and in, I'll come back and finish solder them. But for now, we're just putting a little bit of flux down and tacking these guys in place, keeping them nice and flush. There we go. And then one more over here, and that's got these guys all done. And we can finish solder them in, clean everything up. So what I'm doing here, by the way, with I've got my, this is my Kester 6040 leaded solder here, 6040. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of pull it out and bend it up off the table a little bit so I can come in with my soldering iron, load my tip up. That's a little professional way of doing things. So you can load your tip up and then go in and actually do your soldering. And it makes for a nice clean pickup, and everything's out of the way. You're not burning your table or anything like that. Temperature wise, I'm running at about 400 degrees Celsius, which is a little bit hot, and I like to work a little bit hotter than a lot of people do. Some guys work, you know, 270, 300, and you can get the job done there. I'm not saying you can't. You absolutely, you know, that'll absolutely get it done. Depending on what solder chemistry you have, I like to work a little bit hotter because I like to work a little bit faster. Now I tend to slow down a little bit for you guys when I'm doing this, so that y'all can kind of see what's going on, and I have time to explain it and talk about it a little bit. But I tend to work pretty quickly across my boards, and so I keep my temperature up. That way I don't have to sit in any particular area for too long. And I know I've got everything properly soldered. Okay, all that looks good. Clean up all these component legs. It's not a must right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean these guys up. And we'll do our last three little components, our last three capacitors. We already put our new voltage regulator in. We'll shove all these up here to the side, stick that up there. So our last three are right here. And we are here, and here. Take this guy out. Keep moving right on down the line. Okay, negative is facing that way. Negative is facing that way. Hush! One more. The markings that they use on this particular one suck. This Voltec board, the way they're indicating, they're not using the proper symbol for a capacitor, which I know you guys will never be able to see, but they're not using the proper symbol, and it's not a commonly recognized symbol, and there is no proper marking for ground unless you take a second to look at the markings on their board, which brings up an interesting point and a great time to recommend things. So I've kept this one laying this way, so I knew which way ground goes, and I don't think that you guys will ever, maybe you can see that funny little symbol right there. This is what they're using for capacitor. It's not a capacitor symbol. I don't know why they're using that, but they are. Anyway, but the way that is the little U shape over here is ground, is what they're indicating, which would mean ground on this one is going the opposite direction. He's going this way. Now, here's another thing. While we're in here and we're doing this, now is a good time. Any components that you can get in here and straighten up to pretty your board up, do that while you're in here. If you've got time, and I say if you have time, if you have the time and the ability and the tools to get in here and just straighten like this little capacitor right there, and this little transistor right there, go ahead. I mean, if you got the time, go ahead and straighten them up. Will it make any difference to the performance of your board? Most likely not. Most likely not. However, again, it looks nicer. No one will ever see it. You will see it. You will know it's there, but nobody else. Nobody's gonna go open up your console. Let me take a look at those solder joints inside. Let me look at the component layout. Nobody's gonna say that. Nobody cares, right? Except for, if you're doing this by yourself, for yourself, it's fine. Whatever you decide to do with your equipment, lay it out however you want. Who cares? But if you're doing this for a customer, or if you're buying from somebody, right, and they don't take the time to make sure that these components are in here and the legs are nice and straight, and they stick up properly, and they're not all laying all over the board, if they don't take the time, they don't care enough, then why are you wasting your money? Because they don't care about that, and they don't care about you, and they don't care about the equipment, and which means if they don't care about it, why are you buying from them, right? And listen, I mean, I know there are guys, and I use this as a perfect example, the coder, for example, this is his day job, it's his day job. This is what the guy does to pay his bills. He's professional. He's, working on consoles and fixing, Xboxes and PlayStations and Switches is what the guy does for a living. And he does a great job, by the way. I've said this many times. If I ever had to send any of my personal equipment to get repaired, if I couldn't do the repair myself and I'd send somebody, he's on the top of my list. Of guys I'd send it to, and guys I'd recommend. If you're going to charge money like he does, then, sorry, something bit me. If you're going to charge money like he does, then then you should be giving the people a quality product. If you're doing it at home, all by yourself, and some of the people watching this and some of the people watching these channels do, the coder does it. He enjoys video games and all that, and he takes the time and does a quality job. And then you'll see, you know, some guys that you know, they just want their thing to work, and they don't want to spend a bunch of money getting somebody to repair it and all the rest of that. You know, and that's fine. You know, it's their own equipment. They can treat it however they want. This is going to be my equipment, so I'm going to treat it however I want. And, you know, the way that I treat it is my business, but glossing over all of that. You know, I care about vintage video games. I do. I have a huge collection. I love them. I buy tons of them and repair tons of them, and I do it. It's not my day job. I do it because I genuinely care about the consoles and about the history and, you know, all that stuff. It's great, fond memories of my childhood and all the rest of that. That's why I do this. It's not my day job. It doesn't pay the bills. Occasionally, it might, you know, might take me and the wife out to work, to dinner or something, you know, or I'll buy another gizmo. But most of the time, the money that I make on it, I turn around and put back into it. So it's not like I'm really getting ahead, you know. And if so, I take the time because I care about it to do a good job, because it matters to me. And if you're buying from somebody that it doesn't matter to them, don't buy from them. You know, if they can't take the time to do a quality job, and it comes out and it looks like this, and they've taken the time to straighten everything up and it looks great, if they don't have the time to do that, this few seconds that I'm spending straightening a few things up, then why are you spending your money with them? If they don't care like you care, why are you spending your money with them? Take it to somebody who does care. You'll get a better job, results will last longer, the components will be better, and you'll be happier in the long run. At any rate, enough of all that. Alright, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to move on to the board after this, the main board. Alright guys, sorry about that little break there. I had to do a quick little repair job a final checkout on a Game Gear that I sold. I wanted to double check everything and make sure everything was good to go and ready to rock and roll before I sent it out the door. Good news is everything checked out great, so wrapped him up, finished him up, and packaged it up, and it's ready to go. So, back to this guy. Let's get our pocket knife out and see what all we got here. Okay, so those are, I don't know yet. We've got these small, flat, super flat capacitors. It's like one of those. That guy, those guys, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Okay. So I think first and foremost, we want to start right here with these two guys, and we're going to flip on our, I believe we're going to flip on, let me see, yeah, we're going to flip on our desoldering iron. I'm going to show you guys the way that those are 220s, those are 100s, these are 220s. So I'm going to try to stack these up in order. 220, 6 volts, 226 volts. Okay, yep, that's all those. Those are 100 volters. These are 47s. .22s. Ones and 4.7 there. Okay, so I can go ahead and tell you I'm going to end up pulling Console 5's website up when I go to replacing all of these, but I want to show you a little pro tip. And I've seen a lot of people, and there's, you know, this is the way you remove electrolytic capacitors. No, this is the way, or these aluminum electrolytic capacitors, and it's back and forth, and everybody's got their own idea, blah, blah, blah. let me show you the way I do it. Because the way I do it's a little bit different than you're going to see anywhere else. What I do is I take a pair of needle nose or just a pair of pliers, grab a holted guide. This is 100 6.3, and just grab it. Okay, I pay attention to where my indicator is, and negatives on this side, and I grab a hold of it and I just twist it back and forth, and he pops right off, just like that. Okay, super easy, super easy. And then let me fire up my soldering iron. Then I clean this pad up, tin him up real good, and we proceed to put our new one on. So this is 100, what we took off. Looking at the bottom of this, I don't think this guy's leaked. That's the easiest way, guys. That is legitimately the easiest way to repair these right here, is to just grab a hold of them with a pair of pliers and just give them a little twist. Okay. And once you've done that, take you a little bit of flux. And just take the legs off that are there. Okay. A little bit of solder here. Retin our pads up. That all looks great. We're going to take our 100. Maybe once I get inside of it. Okay. Now putting this guy back on is super easy. So all we do, line him up, put a finger down, and I'll show you a close-up view. Put the microscope out and show you a close-up view of this here in a minute. And we just take our soldering iron and we advance it in till we make the joint. A little bit of flux down, just a drop. There you go. Okay. Let's go ahead and get these two replaced real quick. The first one we're going to do is the bigger of the two. Okay, this one is really well pushed down to the board. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put some fresh flux down, and we're going to clean our tip up, and we're going to run in some fresh solder. We got one side up, the other doesn't want to release, and occasionally you'll run into that. And this is 330 6.3. .3 is our new one. You know, toss him over here. This right here looks like it's got a little bit of corrosion on it. A little bit. So this leg on this side doesn't want to poke through all the way just yet. So what I do is just heat him up. There we go. Let's get that guy all the way down. We can go ahead and pull the other one. Okay. This is a 220 6.3. 6.3 220. I'm going to clean up on this guy just a little bit right here. So what you want to do when you're doing these guys is you want to start in a specific area and work your way one direction. So I've got these two done. So I can either start down here in this bottom corner or I can start up here. It makes no difference which way you go, and you certainly don't have to even do that because they're all labeled. So if you wanted to, you could just pull them all. And usually when I'm doing this by myself and I'm not on video, that's usually the way I go about it, especially if I'm dealing with standard electrolytics like these guys. I swipe the whole board off, and then if I forget something, I'll pull up console 5 and read back over it and see what I missed, and put them in one at a time. And that's probably what I'm going to do now. If you're doing this at home, or if you don't have access to it, the easiest way is, like I said, work from one capacitor at a time and work in an area and a direction across the board or down the board or whichever direction you're going, but stay in one area, replace those one at a time, move to a different area, so on and so forth. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to kick this video over into high speed. I'm going to move the camera down a little bit so you guys get a little bit better shot on what's going on, and then I'm going to go ahead and just remove it all, and we're going to put them all back on in a hurry. Alright, so let's go to high speed and get the camera down. Okay guys, so I wanted to bring you back real quick and show you I don't know how good your shot's going to be, quite a bit of corrosion underneath these electrolytics. Okay. And that all needs to be cleaned. All of that electrolytic fluid that is leaked out, you can see it there. That all needs to be cleaned, okay? Let me throw the other viewfinder back on. I'm going to show you how we do this. Okay, so the way that you go about cleaning this is really, really, really simple, okay? what you're going to need is a fiberglass scratch pen, like so, okay? I don't use one often, but when it comes to doing stuff like this, I absolutely do. And the first thing we're going to do is apply a liberal amount of isopropyl alcohol to everywhere that we removed these guys. And we're going to take our scratch pen, and we're just going to kind of circle lightly circle all of these pads and the board, the traces, around the area. We're not going nuts. We're not trying to cut through. We're not trying to cut through the solder mask. We're just trying to abrade the surface, loosen it up a little bit. Okay? And just by lightly doing this, just lightly, what we're doing is we're going to allow all of this electrolytic fluid that's there to be broken up, and removed from the board so that it can no longer do any damage. See, if you don't remove it, if you don't clean it, then all you're doing is leaving that on the board. And my question is this: if we're just leaving it on the board, what good are we doing? None. Not doing any good at all, right? Because it's still, that electrolytic fluid is still caustic, still corrosive, still eating away at our board, and before you know it, it will finish destroying what it started. And so always take the time, a couple of minutes, and clean it when you find it. Use a fiberglass scratch pen. That's really all I recommend. Don't use, you'll hear some people say use a piece of sandpaper. Sandpaper has its place, but this ain't it. So don't do that. Okay. Once you've got that done, you can come in with your soldering iron, right? You can come on in here with your soldering iron, and you can start removing all these leftover legs that we left on the board, right? Paying attention, of course, to where the legs are, to make sure that we get them up. We don't deposit them anywhere else on the board. And if you do, like I just did right there, go ahead and scoop him up, get him off the board. You don't want to leave those legs down there on the board. And the main reason, and there are lots of them, the most important reason you don't want to leave them on the board is, especially if they're corroded, they're already corroded, for one. And for two, and just as importantly, not only are they already corroded, but you risk not making a good solid connection on your board at all, right? And if you don't have a good connection, then you're kind of defeating the whole purpose of removing these to begin with, aren't you? Alright, so now we got that done. We're going to come in here and re-tin all of these pads. First thing we're going to do is re-tin our soldering iron, get him nice and loaded up, clean him up, make sure he's nice and good and ready to rock and roll. And then we're going to start throwing solder at this. Okay, so I'm back. And what I've got is I went ahead and opened up Console 5's Tech Wiki and their capacitor list so that I can make this job relatively quick and painless. I'm going to start right down here. Actually, yeah, I'm going to start right down here, C15, C48, C47, 15, 10 UF16. It should be this guy right here. Now you can, and I might here in a minute when I go to high speed. Come on, I've dropped something down here on these, in between this processor here, and I can't get it out. There we go. That the dropped was a little bit of thermal compound. So it wouldn't have hurt anything anyway. So you can hot air these guys on here. And I might, I think I've decided to go that route and just hot air these guys on, because it sure does make life a lot quicker and easier. I'm gonna get my hot air gun untangled over here. All the stuff that's tangled around it. Now, if you're going to use a hot air gun for this, you need to be more than a little bit careful, because you don't want to overheat anything. And you don't want to melt the bottom of this, the bottom of these guys at all. go. You do want to be careful, by the way, with these guys. You don't want to apply too much heat for too long on them. These aluminum electrolytics especially can get hot really fast in a hurry. And you definitely don't want them to overheat on you. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick this over into high speed because you guys aren't going to want to watch all of this. And we'll go ahead and hammer these guys in, and then we'll reassemble them and fire them up. Let's go to high speed. Okay guys, so we're back now. Alright, so before, and I'm not quite fully all the way done cleaning up, but I've got it good enough for now, good enough for the girls I go out with. So here's where we're at. I got this guy ready to go back together and test. Now before we go getting all super crazy nutso, I'm going to set our main board apart because it looks like I've got two more capacitors right here that I could also change out, and they're just held in by these screws that are already loose. So let me pull this guy up. Yeah, 16 volt 47s. Let's see what I did with a little bag. Those are 16 volt 47s. Let's go ahead and fire up our desoldering iron. Let's go ahead and replace these two. We're here. It won't hurt a thing to go ahead and do it. Now, as a little pro tip for you guys, just a little pro tip. If you notice yet, and you may not, I have not disassembled or cleaned the inside of this case, and I'm not going to yet. I'm not going to clean any of this just yet. And the reason I'm not going to is because I want to test all of this stuff and make sure. There's some liquid. I don't know if you guys, if that's going to come through, but there's some liquid, and that is not flux. It is not. It's too hard. It's not. not soft enough to be flux. And it's not in the right place either. Something was spilled in this thing, which is why it doesn't work. Glossing over all that. So before we go nuts and reassembling the whole thing and putting it all back together and cleaning everything up and, you know, the whole 9 yards, right? It is important to verify functionality, which is why you'll see on, you know, all these YouTube channels you watch of these guys doing this stuff, or every technician, if you just happen to be watching over their shoulder, they won't fully reassemble anything until they know that it works, right? And the reason is, you don't want to go putting all the screws back in something and bolting it all back together and then only to have to take it back apart. I don't want to go through the trouble of cleaning this thing just yet, only to have to take it back apart. I don't have to do that. We turn off that soldering iron and turn this one on, and while I'm waiting, we'll re-tin this guy right here, clean him up and re-tin him a little bit. I do like this little micro chisel, or small chisel, whatever you want to call it. I really do like him. I don't use him a whole lot, but I do like it. At any rate, so that's kind of the same thing we're going to do here. Now, as boards became more complicated, and we started to add more and more circuits to them and more complicated circuits, what started to happen was the components that it took to test one of these increased dramatically, right? It went from all you needed was the main board and the power to you need the main board, you need everything else. Now, how much do I need to fire this guy up? It's a good question. I don't know yet. But we're going to find out here in just a minute. Because I really don't know if I need... I mean, obviously, I don't know that it can output. Obviously, I got to hook up power. I don't know if it needs the DVD board. I don't have any games to put in it yet. But I do have, floating around here somewhere, wherever I put it, I do have the power cable. I stuck him somewhere. I'll have to go track him down. Well, the power cable's over there. I still got to find the video cable that I bought. It's floating around here somewhere. We'll go about digging this guy out once I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and replace all the components I can replace now. This had some leaking under it, and it is a little bit tough. Not quite wanting to come out real easily. And I don't want to risk reflowing my holes, covering them back up, because these are pretty tight. I could switch, there we go. I could switch and use a smaller tip on it, which would absolutely work. But I don't want to do that just yet. Those are not the right ones. I gotta find out what I did with the, there they are. Oh, Lord. Do a little bit of clean work here. There was a little bit of corrosion, but it wasn't much. And I don't know that it was even corrosion so much as it was just kind of gunk. Okay, I'm gonna get this last one over here pulled and replaced. So this right here, by the way, is why the switch to the aluminum SMD mount capacitors. Because as boards became smaller and more compact and more difficult to solder to, and we had to move to wave soldering stuff and such like that, it became imperative that the components, capacitors and resistors and all the rest of that, sat lower and lower and lower on the board, which is fine, because that's where we want them. However, it makes it a lot harder to remove or work on them. Change them out if there's a problem or whatever else. And so, it makes it harder to mount them too. Just kind of period as a general rule of thumb. Okay, we're loose. Ish. See if we can wiggle him up. There we go. Because our holes got a lot smaller, everything got closer together. Everything had to get closer together, and now these components get really challenging to remove, especially when you're flush mounted on really tight holes together. Everything gets really challenging to remove. Make sure you pay attention to your polarity as well with these guys. If you don't, you will not get your component to go back in. Wrong one. Wrong iron. Okay, there we go. Come on now, there we are. Almost. That's us all the way down. There we go. And soldered all in one shot. We're going to double check our soldering on that. Do a little bit of cleanup here. Bottom of our board, and we can stick this guy back in. He's good to go. And again, guys, I'm not going to go super crazy here with this. Not at all. Not at all. We're just going to stick him down here so we can kind of get a feel. Alright guys, welcome back. So due to some recent events, when I say recent, literally just happened. I may have screwed up a little bit, and you guys are just not going to get to see part of the video. And when I say that, as it turns out, I ran out of recording space, and so, sorry. You didn't miss much, just the reassembly of the bottom case and all that stuff. So, now I'm looking for, and I'll find it in a second. Just give me a second, I'll find it. It would appear as though my disk drive has just walked away. But that's not possible. Oh, it's right here. Right in front of my face. Duh. Okay. So, you get one more of our online best service toothbrushes on Amazon. And we're going to clean up this disk drive a little bit. Now, you want to be extra careful, guys, whenever you're cleaning a disk drive, especially if you're going to be using any sort of abrasive cleaning thing, such as this toothbrush is a perfect example, okay? You don't want to get this around the laser lens in here. By all means, clean around everything else with it, but when it comes to the actual laser, stay away from that lens with your toothbrush. Now, I'm not going to go super crazy on it because this thing was, I mean, it was very dusty, but it wasn't horribly dirty. And so now that we've got that roughly cleaned, now what we're going to do is I'm going to track down a little cotton cloth, okay? non-linting cotton cloth, and I'm going to put about a drop or two on our lens, and that's it. And you want to be careful what type of cloth you use on this laser lens. You don't want to scratch it, and you don't want to leave dust or lint behind. Isopropyl, 99% or better, is what you're looking for. Now, I have assembled all of this up to this point, and so I'm ready to now drop him back down. Okay? And he just kind of sits there, no pressure, no tension on it. And we got to put our little strap back on. Now this is the ground strap. And it's really imperative that you get him back on. Don't forget this little guy. He's easy to forget. He's easy to not care about so much. But without it, the disk drive itself will not be grounded. Oh, well, we've lost that. It'll just be what it be. There's a little washer. So while you were gone, while you guys were gone, I pretty much assembled all of this without telling you. And when I say that, without telling you, what really happened was my memory card filled up, and so I did not get all of the footage of it, and I am deeply sorry. But it's really easy, so long as you don't screw it up like I did. And when I say that, I'm going to tell you what I screwed up, if you haven't noticed yet. Remember, guys, on this channel, I don't hide things. I will tell you what I do and what I don't do and what I screw up and what I don't screw up. I don't believe in hiding it. I believe in letting you guys know what I did right, what I did wrong, and all that other good stuff, so that you guys hopefully avoid those same pitfalls. All right? Because nobody's perfect. Now, the truth is, you know, there are lots of people that are better than me. There are lots of people that are better at this than I am, and that's fine. But to think that nobody ever makes any mistakes is just foolishness. It's one of the, you know, and I talk about them a lot, one of the things that I value so much is the coder's live streams, you know, because there's nothing to hide there, you know. I'm not quite set up to live stream yet, but I will be one day and all that stuff. And so what I forgot this particular time was our little power button. And not only did I forget our little power button, means that I now have to go back and redo that, doesn't it? And then we can push this guy down here. There we go. And so when I say I screwed something up, I want you guys to know I messed it up. Not the end of the world. And what I want you guys to take away from that is that, you know, sometimes you guys are going to make mistakes too, and, you know, it's not a big deal, man. You'll be okay. You know, don't panic. It sucks to have to take that back out and redo it again and all that, but I would rather do that, being truthful and honest about, you know, what I did right and what I didn't, you know, than lead you guys to believe that these things always go off without a hitch, and those of us that do this on YouTube, and you know, we never make mistakes, and, you know, everything's always perfect, and we always have all the parts, and, you know, nothing, we don't ever break anything or tear anything up, because we do. You know, we do. You know, my channel's not huge, and I don't, you know, and even when it is, you know, there's a certain production value in making sure that you know, everything comes out and looks great, but, you know, and there's something to be said for that, and that's fine. for other people, but I don't believe in doing that. And I talk about this all the time on my channel. I believe in letting you guys know the 100% truth on it, and that is, you know, hey, mistakes get made sometimes. It's not the end of the world. And here's how you fix it when you do make that mistake, you know, because not only does it tell you, you know, that mistakes get made, but it lets you know that, you know, here are the pitfalls that you're going to run into. Look out for these, and if you do make them, here's how you go about fixing that or correcting that problem. And if you watch this video before you do this, you know, here are some things that you should be watching out for so that you don't also make those mistakes, right? There we go. Now, it's got all of that. I forgot this little guy, so I'm going to stick him back on real quick, right? And then we should be just about done. Now, I did want to take a second while I was here and talk about one tiny little thing that I haven't seen anybody mention before. I got one more screw to put in over there. Don't let me forget that. And the one thing that I wanted to talk about is how you adjust if your Saturn is not closing properly anymore, or not, I say closing, is not opening properly anymore, how you can go about fixing that. And I'll kind of show you right here. On this piece of metal right here, okay, there are two latches, okay, for our open tension, okay? And how fast and how hard that opens, which, understand we're upside down, but depending on which one you put that in, depends on how fast and how hard it opens. So, if yours is not wanting, it's been worn out, if you're on this top one, which is where most of them are from the factory, and you hit this button and it's slow to open, okay, what you can do is just grab this guy, slide him down to the second slot, and now it'll open up with just a little bit more force behind it, and restore that door for you, which is what you wanted, right? Okay. Now, putting the tops on the bottoms. There we go. We're just going to lower him down. Getting these little LEDs, the little LED gizmos right there to line up just perfect can be a little bit of a chore, but again, it's one of those things that I say it all the time, guys, don't rush it. Don't rush it, don't force it. Take your time, look at it, see what it needs to do, and then do that. You know, you go trying to force these guys in, what you're going to do is break something. You don't want to do that, so take your time. Okay, so this is this one right here, this first one right up here is the one that we used our CA glue on. So we want to, and I also noticed this is missing a foot. So we need to remember that it's missing a foot. Okay. We're going to have to come up with something to do there. Which I've got little feet, but I don't have any rectangles. But that's okay. Because what I'll do instead right there is I will... well, that's not the right screw either. Oh, that post is broken. I'm not sure which. I don't know yet. See if this is the right one. Yeah, there we go. Good. One more right over here in this corner. And then we'll round up some little feet. Okay. And so I found this guy. So we're going to drop him in. There we go. And there's our Saturn up and running, and we grab our feet. So I've got floating around in my drawer somewhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to find us a couple of these guys, and I think the tallest ones that I have in here, we got these little squares. Yeah, we'll use these little squares beside the feet. There we go. Now, the last and final little thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our Quick Systems acrylic scratch remover Acryl, and we're just going to do a quick light just a quick light polish by hand. We're not going to go nuts on this, and I might later, like I said, this is going to be my own personal console, so I might go crazy later. Then again, I might buy a shell for this, like a clear shell or something like that. Well, guys, it looks like that this right here is going to wrap us up. I'm going to plug this guy back up. I'm going to plug this guy back up. We've definitely got our light back on. Need to get a disc for this thing, I guess. Go ahead and set my date, not that it will matter. It does, it cracks me up. There we go. So our access light is blinking, and I believe I'm going with at this point that it is blinking because I don't have a disc in it. And I tell you what, the next time that I take this apart, I'm gonna change and go with a brighter light on these guys, because the light's not very bright right here, and that does not sit well with me. I wish it was a little bit brighter and stronger, and but that's gonna wrap it up for this build, for this whatever you call it, repair. Showing you guys how to do the capacitor replacement on this guy and just get him back working. When we got it, it wasn't working at all, and now it is. And we'll throw a disc in it at some point. I don't know. Who knows? But at any rate, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Guys, I appreciate, as always, very much you guys coming and hanging out with me, watching my videos. Listen, if you like this, as always, subscribe. Do me a solid. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't like it, you know what to do. Hit the bell icon or hit the thumb down button, you know. If you don't like it, then don't come back. No, in all seriousness, if you didn't like it, you know, if you hit the, by all means, hit the thumbs down button, but tell me what you want to see. You know, tell me what you'd rather be watching. You know, if you came here and you weren't, are you not entertained? If you weren't entertained, man, let me know why. Let me know, you know, what you want to see. And, you know, like I said, I've said before, I'll say it again. If I don't have it, I'll buy it. You know, we'll get it. We'll work on it, whatever it is. We got more great content coming, guys. I appreciate so much spending time with me, hanging out, watching this video. We will definitely, 100%, without a doubt, see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.